Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Glory Warhammer 40k video. In today's episode, I want to share with you my favorite units for overwatching with, because there's nothing like a well-timed ambush to throw a curveball into your opponent's plans, and I have seen many a game won thanks to a well-executed Overwatch. And so, without further ado, let's mount up, roll out, and drive right into today's episode. Attention, guardsmen. My ever-salty partner in crime, Admiral Simon, has got an important announcement for you.
This September and October, I am doing a charity walk along the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. We'll be raising money for two fantastic charities, our local hospice, Halton Haven, and also the Pink Ribbon Foundation that raises funds to combat breast cancer. As I hate camping, walking, and will be shitting in a bucket for 4 days, I will be particularly salty and would value any support you can give us. Please click the link below for our Just Giving page. Thank you very much.
You heard the man, it's for a good cause, and you all know Simon from the battle reports. That's all for now. Move out, conscripts. Starting in no particular order, the first unit that I think is a great target for the Overwatch stratagem is the Humble Chimera. This reliable workhorse unit of the Guard is a fantastic choice for Overwatch because not only can you equip it with a pair of heavy flamers, meaning that you've got a couple of weapons that don't even need to roll to hit, you just automatically hit and you just roll for wounding, so you're not trying to fish for sixes or anything like that, but also it has a crap load of other guns on it as well. You get 12 shots from the las gun arrays, and you also get 6 shots from that heavy stubber too. So between the volume of fire from the extra guns and then the dedicated flamers, you can actually get a surprising number of hits and wounds from overwatching with this vehicle. It's important to remember as well that if you are overwatching with the Chimera against an enemy vehicle, then those sixes that you get to hit with things like the las guns and the stubber will have lethal hits, because the newborn soldiers in the Guard, since the balanced data slate, no longer says in the shooting phase, it just says when you make an attack. So when you're overwatching with the Chimera, not only can you burn things, but you can also potentially stack up a lot of lethal hits. However, it is important to note that you cannot overwatch using the firing deck. So if you have a couple of flamers from a Catachan squad inside the Chimera, those don't get to use Overwatch. It's just the main weapons on the Chimera itself. But I would say the thing that makes the Chimera pretty good at Overwatch, probably its most unsung trait, is how many you're probably going to have in your army, especially if you're going down a mechanized Guard route. It's entirely possible, nay recommended, if you're going to be running Mech Guard, to have 4, 5 or 6 of these things in your army. That means they can cover a large frontage of the battlefield, so wherever your opponent moves, he's going to get hit by Overwatch. I have built lists with 6 Flamer Chimeras recently. I've taken them to tournaments recently, and something that really jumped out to me was it didn't matter if my opponent moved down the left flank, it didn't matter if my opponent moved down the middle, it didn't matter if my opponent moved down the right flank. Wherever he moved, I was gonna pop Overwatch. And what was kind of cool is I would just factor this into my CP management. I would just make sure I didn't spend any command points in my turn, and it meant that I'd always have at least 1 command point in my opponent's turn for Overwatch and maybe another one for popping smoke. And combining these two together with the frequency of Chimeras in my list, it made a few dilemmas for my opponent. However, if you are looking for a cheap flamer tank that is good on the offensive and good on the defensive with a cheeky Overwatch, then look no further than the Hellhound. A unit that has been on a bit of a redemption arc with me personally, and one that I struggle to take out of my list these days. A Hellhound equipped with an Inferno Cannon and a heavy flamer is a very, very potent overwatching force. Now, inevitably, when we talk about Hellhounds with all of their flamers, there's going to be comparisons that we're going to need to draw to the aforementioned Chimera. Now, the Hellhound has a number of advantages. Firstly, it just does Overwatch a bit better. You're not trying to fish for 6s with las guns and with heavy stubbers. You just get 3d6. You get 2d6 from the Inferno Cannon, and you get an extra d6 shots from the Heavy Flamer. And that Inferno Cannon is much more potent than the Heavy Flamers on the Chimera. It's an extra strength, and most importantly, it's an extra AP. And you cannot overstate the usefulness of the extra AP, because it means that if you're being pressured by a unit that's got like a 2+ save, you can kick them right down to a 4-up. And 4-ups are super swingy. Sometimes your opponent will risk it and they'll think, well, I can just take it, I'll just pass my 4-ups. But if it's a damaged unit, or a unit which doesn't have a lot of wounds left, or something that your opponent is just placing a lot of value on, that doesn't just want to essentially take a bunch of free damage from your Overwatch, it might cause them to hesitate, because sometimes you pass all your 4-ups, sometimes you fail them. 4-ups are 50-50, but rarely is that 50-50 taking place in one roll of the dice. Often you're going to pass all of them in one go, and the next time you're going to pass none of them. Another big thing about the Hellhound is it's just a lot tougher. It has a 2+ save, and it has toughness 10. This means that a lot of special weapons, which are going to be strength 9, are going to be strength 8, are going to be wounding it on 5s rather than 4s, like they would against like a Chimera if it's like a melter gun. And it means that if the Overwatch fails, whereas the Chimera might end up just dying, the Hellhound might survive the shooting, it might survive the combat because it's got that 2-up save, and as a result, it means that next turn it's got a chance to either stay in combat and just burn its way out, or it can fall back and have another go at overwatching the opponent in subsequent turns. Lastly, the Hellhound is just that little bit more sacrificial. Whereas your Chimera is good at doing Overwatch in addition to its other duties, like transporting infantry, the Hellhound is just going forward and doing damage. You might have good potential Overwatch from that Chimera, but you might not be able to risk exposing it. Therefore, exposing the infantry if it dies, and then losing potential objective control, losing primary points. There's a whole lot of reasons why you might need to hide that Chimera. But the Hellhound, just yeet it forward, get it burning, and if it dies, it dies. It's not the end of the world. But that's enough about flamers. Sometimes we want something with a bit more punch. At the end of the day, whether it's an Inferno Cannon or Heavy Flamer, it's only damage 1. What if we need something that could Overwatch and it's got damage 2 or even damage 3? Well, this is where my third favorite Overwatch unit comes in, the Leman Russ Battle Tank. The Leman Russ comes equipped with a battle cannon, which is strength 10, AP -1, and a sweet flat 3 damage. And you can give it a lance cannon, and you can give it plasma cannons as well, all of which are packing a lot of extra AP and a lot of damage. You can also put a heavy stubber on there, and hell, it's got a hunter killer missile as well. And even though it's only a one-shot weapon, you very well may be tempted to fire in Overwatch. You see, when the Leman Russ is shooting at an enemy unit, which is on an objective you don't control, it gets full rerolls to hit. And unlike a lot of other Leman Russ variants, where their data sheet ability only affects the main turret gun, for the Leman Russ Battle Tank, it affects all weapons. So you get 4 rerolls on the battle cannon, 4 rerolls on the lance cannon, 4 rerolls on the hunter killer missile, 4 rerolls on the plasma cannon, 4 rerolls on the heavy stubber. But wait! There's more, because like with the Chimera, thanks to the newborn soldiers and the balanced data slate, all of those shots get lethal hits when shooting at something which is either a vehicle or a monster. And that means that all those 6s that you're fishing for, you don't even need to roll to wound with them. If your opponent tries to put some sort of close combat monster or drive a tank onto an objective, you can just Overwatch and just start generating a lot of lethals. And even if you're not shooting at an enemy vehicle, you'll probably find, unless it's something like super heavy infantry, like toughness 6, you could be wounding them on 2s anyway with a lot of these plasma cannons with a strength 8 on the overcharge. Battle cannon, which is strength 10, and the lance cannon strength 12. Either way, it's a hell of a lot of firepower, generating a lot of rerolls, meaning it's got a lot more reliability. It's also a real pain in the ass for your opponent, because fishing on 6s is still swingy, even with full rerolls. But the potential that your unit could do is phenomenal. Maybe you roll a 1 on the number of shots from the battle cannon. Maybe you roll a couple of 1s for the number of shots from the plasma cannons. Or maybe you roll a 6 and do 9 shots plus blast from that main gun. Maybe you start rolling 5s and 6s on the D3 for those plasma cannons plus blast. That's a lot of dice that can generate a lot of 6s. No word of a lie, in the same game, I have had people risk Overwatch from Hellhounds, even though it automatically hits, because it's only damage 1. And they think, I can weather it, I've got multi-wound infantry here, or I've got a big tank. And I've had the same opponent go, I'm not moving out with my tank, with my Predator, because if I do, there's a real chance that I'd lose my vehicle when I finish that move on that primary objective. And that's huge, because then that person hasn't moved out for that primary. They've given up some primary points, and at the end of the day, anytime that you can force your opponents to score less points, whether it's directly or indirectly, that is a big boost for you. Now that covers my top 3 units for Overwatch, but there are a couple of honorable mentions that I want to throw out there as well. Firstly, I'm a big fan of the Malcador Infernus for its Overwatch capabilities. Now the Malcador Infernus is a little bit of a lackluster unit because it only gets like D6 plus 3 shots from its giant trombone flamer, but don't think of it as only firing D6 plus 3 shots. If you Overwatch this thing, and bear in mind it's got an 18-inch range, that actually should be thinking that each battle round, not each turn, but each battle round, this thing is actually firing 2d6 plus 6 shots from that big flamer. When you think about it in those terms, it has the potential to do a lot of damage. And I've used the Malcador Infernus at a tournament. I've used it as a very aggressive overwatching unit, and it's actually performed very admirably. Likewise, we've also got the Malcador Defender, which gets to Overwatch on a 5+ with its many heavy bolters and demolisher cannon. You can even have like lance cannons in the side of it. It's got a lot of firepower. It benefits from not full rerolls, but it is going to be hitting 33% of the time. And also it can have lethal hits because it's got Born Soldiers and all that good stuff. The reason why the Infernus and the Defender are only honorable mentions and are not making it into the full-blown recommended top list is because their future is uncertain. They are units which are currently only available from Forge World, and GW has been sending a lot of Forge World units to Legends. So I would say if you're someone who already owns an Infernus, already owns a Defender, and you're looking for a unit that could do some good Overwatch on a durable chassis, consider these ones. But until we know what's going to happen with the new Guard Codex, which is coming out in January, and these units very well may survive or they may get plastic reimaginations, until we know their future, I can't recommend them to like go out and buy. I can say if you've got them, use them, but otherwise hold tight and wait and see what happens with them. And the final unit that gets an honorable mention, but this is purely from a theory craft perspective, I've not tested this out on the battlefield, is the Heavy Weapons Squad. Now the Heavy Weapons Squad can weirdly get up to like a 4+ to hit on Overwatch or something insane. Now it's very fragile. It's only got 6 wounds across 3 models and a 5+ save, 2+3. So it's gonna die. But remember, you can do Overwatch in the movement phase. So yeah, the opponent's going to move out and shoot it and then it's going to die. Before it does, you could possibly hit them with 3 lance cannons, hitting on a 4+. So you might get a lot of damage in before they wipe you out, and you might have enough damage to actually even save the unit. However, my suspicion is that these things are so fragile and that there's so many models and units and assets available in 40k these days that even if you do get a good bunch of Overwatch off, the unit's probably going to die very quickly. And if you take 3 of these things, remember you can only Overwatch once per movement or fight, or should I say charge phase. So you'd have to like move one out turn 1, move one out turn 2, move one out turn 3. 180 points for some maybe good Overwatch. I'm not sold, but it is a unit like the Malcador which actually hits surprisingly well on Overwatch. So it was worth mentioning in the Overwatch video. But as always, this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Out of all the units we've spoken about today, which one is your favorite for Overwatch? And is there a unit that I didn't mention that you think should be considered as a good Overwatch target? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.